Sean, the last couple of weeks you've had a fairly free scoring team out there. 4-0 against Hearts and 5-0 against Hibs in the cup final. Celtic themselves have kind of fallen a little bit behind, but are you expecting them to be any less of a threat and to have any major changes, considering that they may be perhaps a little more desperate for the result?
Yeah, no, I don't think I'm not expecting any less of a game against Celtic. We know it's always a tough game. We know what these games mean to both clubs, so we're preparing, for the same Celtic as we've prepared for the last year and a half. We expect a really tough game. We expect, a good side to come out and cause us problems should we allow them to. So, yeah, we're preparing as we would, no matter the league table shows. We're preparing as we would if we was playing any top side in the league.
In terms of what you've got available, one of the beauties of your team this year is people scoring from all over the pitch. What are you like for injuries and suspensions this weekend?
We're looking very good, actually. I think we've got everybody available to us this weekend. I'm not aware of any suspensions that are upcoming, so we're looking strong. We're going into a tough week with a really strong squad and a strong team ready to go.
I believe last night you visited a local hostelry ahead of the game against Bilbao. Did you get to give Barry some words of advice before the game kicked off?
No, I didn't see Barry yesterday, but I went to watch the game. I always love European nights at Ibrox. I think it's something special, and any chance that we can get to go and watch those games, it's brilliant, and you can just feel the atmosphere and what it brings and what it creates around the city's unbelievable. So yeah, I was there and happy to watching the boys and cheering them on last night.
Just a wee reminder for people, the game's a 4:10 kick-off at Broadwood on Sunday, and it's also live in BBC Alpha. The Celtic game always brings a certain, shall we say, frisson to the results. Lucky enough to chat to some of the girls who are supporters of the club as kids. Do you find that there is a different attitude going into these games because of the nature of the game?
It's something that there was always spoke about when I first came in. I think it's something that we've been working on and working towards for a long time now, having to deal with the emotion of playing against your rivals and playing in an old firm. I think it's, with the league this year, that there's so many tough games now that those games aren't really the ones that you look at and you pinpoint them so much at the first thing anymore, because, we've got Hibs, we've got City, we've got Celtic, we've got Hearts, we've got Motherwell. You've got all these teams that you can each week you can just pick and go, that's the top team that we're playing this week. Whereas maybe in years gone by, that they're the games that you really look for because you're competing with year in, year out, your Celtics and your Cities. But it's quite different this year, and it's got a really different feel around it because every single game we're playing is a tough game, and it feels like a rival game no matter who we're playing because they're that tough. So it's been good for us to make sure that we're keeping our emotions in check and know what it's like to play against Celtic and City quite regular. But we need to make sure that we're doing what we need to do to beat a very good team on Sunday.
Thanks for that.
Hi Joe, how are you?
Hey Alison, how are you?
Good. Is this a game where the pressure is really on Celtic given their current position?
I wouldn't say so. No, I think that we always feel pressure. We always feel pressure within these games to perform and do well. Yes, we've got a buffer on Celtic in terms of points and in league position, but we're still off of Hibs, and I think that shows you the competitiveness in these games. That I think whenever you're playing each other, that you can always look for the other results around and go, there could be points dropped there, and that's the difference this year. So because we that's where we'll feel pressure, because we need to make sure that we're keeping where we want to be and get ahead of Hibs and looking to do that. So we'll always feel pressure in these games to get points and keep moving and being high as up the table as possible.
It's 5 games, I think, that you've played against Celtic and they've not been able to get the better of you. Does that say something about the mentality within your squad?
Yeah, because when I first came in, that was one of the biggest things that was evident to me is the Celtic games were really sticking out to the players, and I really felt that there was a mental battle there to overcome when we first stepped in the door, and it's something that we've really worked on over the past 18 months to be able to overcome that and turn the tides and make sure that we're the team coming out on top the majority of the time. You know, you're not going to do that 100% of the time because they're a very good team with a very good squad that have been together such a long time. So we needed to make sure that we started to slowly turn it and change the mentality towards those games and change the mentality towards ourselves in those games. And I feel like that's something we've definitely done. It doesn't mean that we're finished doing that. It still means that these games still hold something. And it turns up with every Old Firm. You can see that and what it means to both teams. So we've got to continue to work on that and continue to work on ourselves. I just think we're in a much better position now, mentality-wise, with it than what we maybe were a year ago.
What was your advice for that? How did you work in that? Like, how do you address something like that?
Well, when I first came in, the players, it was all about, they were speaking about Celtic a lot. They were speaking about, their players, how they play, what they do really well. Just tried to change the mentality and speak about what we do really well and what we can do to hurt them. And concentrate on us a lot. And I tend to do that a lot, week in, week out. We concentrate on us and what we can do and what we do really well. And also what we don't do very well. We never shy away from that fact. We do some really hard work on the training pitch. And in the analysis suite, we make sure that we're not, leaving any stone unturned. Making sure that we're working on things that we haven't done very well previously. And also trying to tell the players, that we do things very well. And there's certain things that we can do that will hurt opposition, and that's what we work on. And that's something that I've stayed consistent with since I stepped in this building. It's what we're going to do, how we're going to hurt opponents, their threats, making sure we're nullifying their threats and making sure we're taking full advantage of our strengths. So I think that's just something over time that I've stuck with, and I've not changed my narrative on that. And I think that's potentially helped the girls a little bit.
Do you feel that the atmosphere around these games is a bit different?
Yeah, we always see a few more fans turn through the gates and what that looks like, and the noise levels, and what we hear from the fans on the side always becomes a little bit louder and a little bit more. You can always feel it in these games, and that's the extra special bit that it brings. And I think that's potentially why it feels a little bit different for the players as well, because there's always so much more noise around them. But that's what we want to play football for. We've been down to Arsenal at the start of the season where we had 4,000 Arsenal fans shouting at us and cheering for the opposition. So they're really good moments that we can learn from, and we want to see it more often than not. We want fans to come through the gate and cheer on their teams respectively. So I think it's really important that continues to happen, and we continue to try and put on a performance for our fans.
Before you had come up to Glasgow, what was your experience or knowledge of that rivalry?
Yeah, I think we'd seen it quite a lot in the media. They're the games that everybody looked at. I think if you ever looked at the Scottish League, it was the City, Celtic and Rangers games that everybody would be aware of. And I think it's I watched them. I watched them on Sky when they were on Sky Sports, and I think it just shows because it's the rivalry and it's the Celtic Rangers games. People will watch them. And I think that's continued, and I think there's more people watching them now, and I think you can see the more fans that come through the gate. They're turning up week in, week out, and we just need to make sure that continues, because we don't just want to see it in the Old Firm games or in the rival games. We want to see it week in, week out too. So we're definitely making progress. We just need to make sure we keep doing that and keep pushing.
There's obviously a bigger prize in just Sunday. You're the only team in the country that can go and win a domestic treble, on course to go and win a title. Now, going into Champions League qualifiers as a title winner is a much easier route to potentially get into the group stages of the Champions League than it is to go through the non-Champions League, the non-Champions route. Is that a factor this season that you're thinking there's a huge carrot here potentially for whoever goes and wins the league?
Absolutely. We saw it last year, that you saw the difference in the routes that ourselves and Celtic took along the way, and the level of opposition that you're facing early in the competition as opposed to a little bit later in the competition, the prize money that comes through the door with that as well, that can boost your budget and how you then gets filtered back into your playing staff, your technical staff, and how that looks. So I think it's really important that we know that's the difference. That's something that, you know, was very evident last year, and it's not something that you can shy away from. So that has to be a big incentive, is to win the league. And it's not just, you know, just for Champions League football. It's because we want to win a league, and it's something that we're really aspiring to do. And that's just another thing that adds to it. You know, we want to play Champions League football and we want to get as far in that competition as possible. That's our aspirations. So, you know, to do that, to give us the best possible chance, it means winning the league to help you along the way. So, yeah, it just brings with it everything that you want to happen on the back of it. You want to go further in Champions League. Winning the league means that makes it a better possibility. So, yeah, we've got aspirations to do that, and that's what we've got our eyes on.
Is that something that crosses your mind in a night like last night when you're at Ibrox and it's utter bedlam at points within the stadium, that you think just having exposure to that on some level, and I know it's not necessarily the same experience, but having exposure just to elite level football and what it can do for a team and what it can do for the progress of the women's game? Yeah,
you can see the difference in, you know, how it feels to be in the arena when it's like that. It just brings, you know, I get goosebumps when I'm in arenas like that, and you think of what it's like to be stood on the touchline, and what it's like for the players to be playing under nights like that. And that's what we want. You know, you can see when teams domestically are playing in front of 50,000 people at their men's stadium, what that looks like and what that feels like. And playing for the national team, we saw, you know, with Scotland against Germany, they had a really healthy crowd out there to support their national team. And those are the moments that you look and you go, they're the moments I want my players to experience a lot more. So, you know, we definitely look at those lights and say we want a little bit of that, however that may look, but we definitely want to be in those situations more often than not.
Just finally from me there, you just touched on Scotland. Did you cross paths at all with Melissa?
No, I don't think I have anyway. If I have, I apologise, but I don't think I've ever come across her personally. No, so yeah, looking forward to seeing what she brings, and hopefully have a good few conversations about some of the very talented players that I've got in the building.